excited about the Kenari Quartet, which is a saxophone quartet that, rather than a string quartet. But we've had great luck with a reed quintet and other ensembles that are not traditional, and we're very much looking forward to them.
Well, my name is Stephen Banks, and I'm the baritone saxophonist of the Kenari Quartet.
My name's Corey Dundee. I play tenor saxophone in the Kenari Quartet.
My name is Kyle Baldwin. I'm the alto saxophonist of the group.
My name is Robert Eason, and I go by Bob, and I'm the soprano saxophonist of the Kenari Quartet. We're just so excited to share our music with you and to talk to folks about our experiences in the saxophone quartet.
We're really thrilled to be able to perform on the People's Symphony concert series. This is, I believe, we're coming up on our 12th year as a group. We started in 2012, and we haven't been to New York in a while, so we're looking forward to coming back to Manhattan and being able to share some music there.
Well, we're used to, this is our 124th season, and when we talk about quartets, it's always been string quartets or a piano quartet, and so I believe this is unless I'm forgetting, is our first saxophone quartet. So tell us a little bit about what we can expect, how you came to form, and the whole ethos of the saxophone quartet. That really would be helpful for all of us.
Sure. Well, within the world of classical saxophone, at least, the saxophone quartet is one of our primary, mediums of expression, and we really love the sound of the group because, much like a string quartet, we all produce sound in the same way. So, like a wind quintet, you've got reeds, you've got brass, and double reeds and single reeds, and so there's a lot of different types of sound production going on there. But with the saxophone quartet, especially in a beautiful venue, we can just get this really wonderful, cohesive organ-like sound, which is really exciting to be a part of and also to listen to.
Something that we're also that we're always excited to share with audiences is one of the kind of fundamental identities of the saxophone, which is its versatility, its ability to sound like all sorts of different things, to have different timbres, and to also play music from all over time. We always like to kind of show the variety and the versatility that the saxophone could have, not only when it comes to the sound, but also to the programming, and which is why we have so much different variety on our programming list.
I think this whole program, we hope, will be a revelation to those who haven't heard the saxophone quartet before. For us, we do this a lot, so we're excited to share it. But almost every time we play a concert, the overwhelming response afterwards is, "I just never knew a saxophone could sound like that." And so this program, which we call the Untapped Sonorities of the Saxophone, is one that we like to think of as a beginner's guide, sort of, to the saxophone quartet. And so we're starting with a piece by Astor Piazzolla, who is right on that line between classical and jazz music in many ways. And so starting off with something that might feel a little bit more familiar to people, and then immediately taking them to the world of Bach.
Of course, saxophone wasn't around when Bach was writing music, but his music translates beautifully to really any instrument, and the saxophone is no exception. And when we lean into some of the newer music, such as pieces from David Maslanka or Joel Love or Jennifer Higdon, it really kind of takes some classical concepts and modernizes them, especially when it comes to David Maslanka. And we often like to pair David Maslanka's music with Bach pieces in the program as well, because David Maslanka is inspired greatly by Bach. And in many of his pieces, he will directly quote or use Bach chorales, Bach madrigals, things like that. And so they can be a really nice pairing. But he takes those and he displays them, but then he modernizes them. And tied into what Stephen was talking about with our kind of more homogeneous sound and how we can kind of sound like a pipe organ or sound, because of the nature of our instruments, it really tends to lean well into kind of modernizing more classical approaches towards music. And so, you'll hear that a lot with Maslanka. And then Joe Love, of course, kind of, he also pulls a little bit from that as well. But then Jennifer Higdon is going to be a more like traditional contemporary, right? A little bit more visual in the way that the music is laid out and composed in terms of how we move, but also more representative of an image.
David Maslanka passed away a few years ago. I think he would be in his late 80s if he were still alive. But he produced some really incredible and monumental works for the saxophone. He's got a few quartets. He's got concertos and solo pieces, sonatas with piano. Really a great friend of our instrument, and one whose voice, like Kyle mentioned earlier, is heavily inspired by the music of Johann Sebastian Bach.
And what about Joel Love? I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, so Joel Love, he is a composer who actually we commissioned him to write this piece for us, and as a group, as a quartet, it was our very first commissioned work. This was back in, I believe, 2014 or 2015. So this piece is very near and dear to our hearts. It is a piece that essentially memorializes his father, who passed away during the writing of that piece. And it's extremely emotional, very moving and powerful work. And his writing, or Joel Love's writing, it's very accessible, very harmonic and melodically oriented, but he likes to take an approach to the saxophone that centers around varying the instrument's timbre and seeing how that can accompany certain harmonic changes and creating these ethereal textures. So that's a piece we've been performing for a really long time, and we really love sharing it just all the time. It's one of our staples in the repertoire.
Looking forward to hearing that. Well, there's another name on the program that our audience will recognize. It looks as if Bill Bolcom arranged a piece by Robert Schumann. Somebody tell us.
Yes. Yeah, so this is a set of 6 pieces by Robert Schumann from his album For the Young. And it's really fun to play these with a saxophone quartet. They were originally conceived to be played by, as the album says, by a young pianist. And so in some ways they're musically simple and not easy, but simple in some ways. And so to be able to find ways to convey that simplicity and beauty among 4 people, as opposed to, just one person playing by themselves, is actually a real challenge in many ways. And also is very rewarding for us as performers. It's very fun and keeps us on our toes.
Well, it all sounds fascinating, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing your concert. And thank you so much for taking the time today to chat with us. And we look forward to hearing you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.